Welcome back to the Ball Oasis show. If you're wondering where we've been for the past couple of days, it's been a very slow news week. It's been a very slow news week in the NBA. A
Right.
lot of the same rumors swirling around that we've been seeing for the past couple of weeks to
Weeks,
begin
yeah.
with. Um, I guess the biggest thing that really happened was Damian Lillard signing the 2-year extension. And even as a Portland Trailblazers fan, I don't even really want to elaborate on that. It was good for us, I guess. A lot of money, but well deserved. That's all I really want to say about that. I don't really want to speak on it. Um, Jacob, is there anything that's happened over the past week that you want to spend a short amount of time and speak on real fast?
Uh, Nothing much happened. A few players, signed extensions. James Harden took a pay cut, but that's really not much to talk about. Not much that happened lately to talk about,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, it's been a pretty dead week. And like we said, the rumors that have been swirling around regarding the Lakers and the Nets and the teams that may be involved with them are the same rumors we've been hearing for the past 2, 3 weeks to begin with.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like any steam has picked up on any of them. So they're not really worth talking about. So, with all that being said, we have a treat for y'all today. We have a special treat. We took some time to ask some questions, ask around the community, um, a lot of people that we know, and we asked what were people's hottest NBA takes, current or all time. Man, some of the responses that we got were pretty out of this world, wouldn't you say, Jacob?
Yeah, very, very different. I
Yeah.
have to say so.
Um, we had to give some rules, and I guess I'll go ahead and kind of state the rules here. Um, we told people that they could do more than one, give us more than one take. We limited the homer takes to only one per person because I feel like if we let a lot of those slide, we'd see a lot of blank is the best player in basketball and it's not even close. And I also made it my own personal mission to limit the LeBron Jordan debate because that's a little played out, and that's not what we condone over here. But with that being said, we got 16 in total. We probably will not be able to cover all of them today. We might split them in half, and there will probably be a part two to this series, um, as some of these will need to be elaborated on. And by elaborating on them, I don't mean saying that they're a bad take or a good take because takes are subjective. Takes are subjective. Their opinions.
Yeah.
And if as crazy as it may seem to some of us, if that's what you believe, then you're allowed to have that belief. But I guess what we'll do here today is kind of grade them on a hotness scale of 1 to 10. So Jacob, after we present the takes and talk about them, we'll give them like a final grade on 1 to 10 of how hot we think they are.
Okay,
So
sounds good.
without further ado, Jacob, I'll let you go first and present to us the first take. No Stephen A. Smith.
All right. First take I got is it is not my take. It sounds like my take, but it's not. Is the Joker is not the best center in the league. I believe it's Joel. My opinion is really
Of course
close.
you do.
I think I
I'm
think
joking.
I think center is really close because those two are very dominant in their own ways. I believe this person also said from a dominant standpoint, nobody was guarding Joel last year, which I agree with. I understand. But and I get Jokic is better playmaker, better passer. But besides that, it's like they're about the same in everything, except maybe a few categories, I believe. But I just give Joel the slight advantage in scoring, dominance too. So it's toss up, but I really think it's Joel. And you could factor in, but I guess Cat will be number three, could be number three, and they're
Cat or
above.
Rudy, really.
If they Cat or Rudy could be number three, and so I think it's one and two is a toss up, but after that it's kind of you basically know who three after two, you know who the rest kind of are. It's just one and two can be very complicated, depending on
Yeah,
how you look at how they play and everything.
right. That's how I wanted to start. It's clear who the top two are.
Yeah,
It's Nikola Jokic and it's Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid, right?
And Nikola Jokic is the two-time reigning MVP. So he's got that going for him.
I believe Joel was second both times too. So
which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
So they're really neck and neck. And to me personally, I put Jokic over Embiid on, I guess, my center rankings. But it's very, very close.
Very
and
close. Yeah.
Joel Embiid could definitely surpass him with the next season or two. I don't put that past him at all. To me, they're both easily top 10 players in the NBA. They're both close to top 5, if not both of them are top 5. But from a dominant standpoint, I give the edge to Joel. And a point that gets brought up a lot of time also for the case of Joel Embiid over Nikola Jokic is the eye test.
Yeah.
And here's what I want to say about that. You on the other side of my screen, Jacob, are guilty of this as well, I will say. And like I said, a lot of this is subjective. So I get why people would say this, because Nikola Jokic's play style isn't super appealing a lot of times. He's not in the best shape. He's slow. He's methodical. But for me personally, and I know a lot of people can agree with this, there is so much beauty that can be found in that. Right. The way that he manipulates the game, I think that he is probably the best manipulator as a center, easily in NBA history.
Yeah,
easily.
I can understand that. And another thing, I'm not gonna say the offense is different between them, like how the team run their offense, because it both goes through them. But I will say Joel's is more in the post. You know, a lot of kickouts, post moves, stuff like that, finishing. Jokic can kind of play make from the three like a guard almost. He can just make things he can just like run the court how he sees fit. Joel in there yet, but I'll say okay. Joel was able to draw the double team a lot last year, maybe even more.
He was.
Jokic can do the same, but just how they play is different to me. Both are dominant, both are special, but it's just the way that the ball is run through them that could give Jokic like the advantage playmaking wise. But Joel I think he's working on his playmaking the last few years is what it seems like. But I can understand you about how he can manipulate very well. I can understand that.
Like I said, it's super, super close. If you have Joel Embiid, I don't doubt you in the slightest. I don't blame you in the slightest. For me, it's just Nikola Jokic, just because of everything that he can do. And that's not to say Joel Embiid can't play make either. He's an above average playmaker as a center.
Yeah.
It's just Nikola Jokic is the best of all time as a center from a playmaking standpoint. Right. And his scoring is there, and his defense is much improved as well.
Right.
That's what's been kind of one of the big arguments for Joel Embiid over Jokic in the past. And this season, Nikola Jokic was a plus defender on the floor.
Yeah. So I'd say defensively it's pretty close. I mean, Joel's better defensively, but Jokic is getting better at it as time goes. Yeah.
Right. So it's super close. It's super subjective. On a scale of hotness, I probably give it a 3 or a 4, just because there's a real argument that could be made there of why Joel Embiid is better than Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, I'll say about 3, 4, 5. Yeah, because it's a good argument.
So for my first take, I kind of wanted to start with a bang, and that is the current Phoenix Suns core, their current team, will never make it past the second round of the playoffs again. With Chris Paul, Devin Booker, of course, we don't know the future of DeAndre Ayton, but I would even throw Miles Turner in that as well if he ends up getting traded there, or if DeAndre Ayton ends up staying. Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, Cam Johnson, all of them will never make it out of the second round again. So, of course, last year they had the finals run wherever they beat the Los Angeles Lakers in the first round. They came out and swept the Denver Nuggets and beat up a kind of beat up Clippers team. They beat a kind of beat up Clippers team and took a 2-0 lead in the finals, and everything looked like they were going to be the NBA champions last season.
Right.
Until Giannis went into God mode and took over those next 4 games and stole the finals from the Phoenix Suns. And after the first round of the playoffs, things looked iffy for the Suns this year because the Pelicans gave them a scare.
Yes.
A young Pelicans team, kind of a wild card. A lot of times the Suns didn't look ready for it, and that really scared me. But I still had faith going into the Dallas series that they would be able to take care of things pretty easily.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and say this too: the Phoenix Suns were my NBA champions this year. I thought the Phoenix Suns would win the NBA championship going into the playoffs.
Mine too.
So they take a 2-0 lead going into the Dallas series, and what do we see happen after that? Luka Doncic just take over and manipulate that entire series. Chris Paul puts up stinker after stinker. I hate to say it. I'm a huge Chris Paul fan myself, but it was bad. It was ugly. And for them to lose the way that they did in that game 7, that's hard to come back from. And I'm sure that it gave them fuel going into this next season, or at least I hope it did for their sake. Chris Paul's running out of time. Chris Paul's 37 years old, if I'm not mistaken, at this point.
Close, yeah.
And who knows how much longer he's got left. He takes good care of his body, so I can't help but imagine he's got. But I don't know. The Phoenix Suns, they look really suspect in the playoffs. Jacob, what's your take on this take?
My take, I don't think it's true. I think they can get out the second round. I've always believed it's just the matchups, who you match up against.
Right.
And Phoenix against Dallas, I mean, you expect fans to win. That didn't happen. So that, matchup wise, Phoenix should have won that series. But you never know what could happen. Injuries, bad games. Somebody come out of nowhere, just start balling for no reason.
Right.
So I just really think it's all about matchups. That core can definitely go back to the finals, in my opinion. Even though teams in the West are starting to get making moves, people coming back from injuries. So the West is picking back up, but I definitely feel like they can get there.
Yeah. And one more quick note about that Mavericks series. The Mavericks shot the 3 really well.
Yeah.
The Mavericks were a team in general. If they were making their threes, they were almost impossible to beat. So for the end of that series, their role players really stepped it up from 3, but they defended too. They defended, and that's what scares me the most. Devin Booker was not good. Chris Paul, of course, was not good either. DeAndre Ayton was all right, but him by himself with those guys struggling, that's not enough for them to win a playoff series.
Yeah, I agree.
So I definitely think that they have the ability to get out of the second round again, especially with Monty Williams being their coach, one of the best adjusters in the NBA. But like you said, it's just all matchup based. And with the West constantly changing how it is, we have no idea what some teams will look like next season. I still have high beliefs in the Phoenix Suns, though, at least for next season.
Yeah, because I think right now they haven't lost any core players, I don't think. And main guys they use, role players. I guess we got to see how the DeAndre Ayton situation plays out, I guess. See what be opinions later on about that, I guess, like standing wise. See what happens.
Yeah. So for the hotness of that take, I'd probably give it about a 7 because I probably I'm still of the belief of the Phoenix Suns that they have another title run potentially in them. But I'll give that one a 7.
Yeah, I was thinking about 8 because they very easily can. Any year if they core together, they can go pretty far.
So, all right, it's your second take.
Say my second take. Would Draymond Green be a first ballot Hall of Famer if he wasn't on the Warriors.
Mm.
Personally, I think yes. I mean, I know that big three, I guess you can call it, has 4 rings. I guess you can throw KD in there for 2 of them too. But I think yes, because if you take the championships away, all NBA, all defensive team, defensive player of the year, I think defensive all team. So he's not the best scorer. I will say that. Not
Of course.
not the best shooter, anything like that. But playmaking, you can tell what he does on the court. When he's on the court versus off the court, you can tell how big of a difference he makes. So might not be scoring, but just how he sets other players up, how he can set Steph and Clay up, really anybody up, just playmaking wise, and the energy he brings. I'll say the energy he brings. It was fun watching him against the Grizzlies. I will say, just the energy he brings is put some, I guess that lifts him for his lack of offense, scoring wise. But yeah, I definitely think he would be in the Hall of Fame even without the Warriors. If he's still all defensive player of the year, all NBA, put him on any other team with those accolades, I believe he'll still make the Hall of Fame.
So I've seen this question get thrown around a lot, especially within the last few weeks after Golden State winning their 4th championship. Draymond Green is, in my opinion, is definitely a product of his environment. He's definitely a product of his environment. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, they make him a lot better than
the system that he is in. Gives him the freedom and the leeway to really do whatever he wants playmaking wise on the offensive end. There's a free flowing system under Steve Kerr anyway. And he's got 2 of the best shooters of all time on his team. So, and the trust that they have in each other is unlike anything that we've ever seen in this current era of the NBA. The longest tenured players on one team left in the NBA, those 3 guys, Steph, Clay, and Dre, are all in the top 5. They're all in the top 5.
It's from I think 2011, 2012.
Yeah, so the chemistry that they've built with each other has been incredible, and the fact that they're just continuing to grow it is so surreal and fun to watch. Steph Curry, he did an interview. I think he went on the Draymond Green show. I watched it about a month back, and Steph Curry said emphatically that if they didn't have Draymond Green, they wouldn't have won any of those championships.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Draymond Green is the glue. Draymond Green holds that team together. He is their Energizer Bunny. He initiates almost everything on the offensive end, allows Steph to play off the ball and do everything that he does. He allows Clay to get open looks, catch and shoot opportunities, and he opens up the roll man. Draymond Green is often off of the pick and roll. The ball is passed back to him, and he is the one who has to make the decision. It's oftentimes a 4v3 because Steph Curry is drawing 2, but Draymond Green is the one who has to make that decision. So on the Warriors have just been the perfect case scenario for Draymond Green.
Right.
I feel like they've maximized his talent and his ability to the best that any team possibly could. So would he be, all that being said, would he still be a first ballot Hall of Famer on another team? I would probably say no. And that's not to say that Draymond Green still wouldn't be good. I still think that he'd be so good defensively. Yeah. And I think as a playmaker, he would still find a way to let his playmaking prowess be known. And of course, the energy is always going to be there with Draymond Green,
right?
And all the antics and stuff. But first ballot Hall of Famer is a little extreme. Hall of Famer in general, maybe.
Yeah, I think maybe. In general, yeah. The first ballot, I still think so. It really just depends, I guess. Because if you take him off there, you don't know. Like you take him off the Warriors, you don't know what other offense or what situation he'd be around. So it's really hard to tell.
Right. But yeah, he's still a multiple time All-Star in my opinion, just because of what he brings.
Yeah.
And I feel like just because of everything that he brings to the court on a lot of other teams, he would still probably be at least a one-time NBA champion.
Yeah, he's only what 11th year, I think. 10,
Something
11,
like that,
something like
yeah.
that. He's still got a few years left. So I guess we'll just see how the rest of his career plays out.
Yeah. So I'm of the belief that he would still maybe make the Hall of Fame, but probably not first ballot.
I think so. I think it'd be a chance. Not
Yeah.
as high as it is now, but not it's a chance.
I'd probably give that take like 4 on a hotness scale. I think a lot of people would agree that Draymond Green wouldn't be a first ballot Hall of Famer if he wasn't on the Golden State Warriors. So I give that
Yeah,
maybe
I
a
can see
3 or
that.
4.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I'd say about a 5. I can see that. A lot of people probably it's probably split up.
Okay. So for my second one, I have LeBron James will at least win one more championship before the end of his career. So current state of the Lakers. Let's look at the current state of the Los Angeles Lakers. It doesn't look super great.
No.
It doesn't look super great. So as of next season, I wouldn't have the Lakers as the title favorites going into next season.
Even if they got
LeBron is
Kyrie.
undoubtedly great. Yeah, LeBron is undoubtedly great, and he's carried teams before, but he's coming up on his 20th year in the NBA. And of course, we have no idea what the health of Anthony Davis is going to look like going forward. Russell Westbrook is still on the team and still, I guess, trying to find his niche. And the role players that they have are constantly changing, which of course is always a theme around LeBron teams. But the current way that team sits, I don't think that team is going to win an NBA championship. With that being said, there's still a part of me, though. There's still a small part of me that I think LeBron has 3-4 years left, by the way. I just have a feeling that he'll get one more. Whether that means that he's the best player on the team, I probably don't think. Well, I think that he'd probably be on a team where he's at least the second best player. And I mean, right now, Anthony Davis is supposed to be the best player on the Lakers. It's just his availability, of course.
All right.
But yeah, that part of me, I just have a feeling that LeBron will win one more, some way, somehow, and probably end his career with 5.
Yeah. The way the Lakers set up, I don't see it happening with that team. But yeah, I'd say one more. I got one more. I think I can get at least one because he's not slowing down. I mean, he is, but he still averaged, I think, almost 30 last year.
Right.
And year, 18, 19? So, yeah. I think you get one more. It just depends on how they can build that roster. If he stays there, he might leave again, but it really just depends how they build that roster. Even if they get Kyrie this offseason, give up Westbrook and whoever else.
I still don't think that makes them title favorites either.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't either because I feel like the role players they have too is just pretty good role players, solid role players, but not. I don't think enough to just win the finals. I know the roster cuts down, the rotation cuts down in the playoffs, but I don't see that with that team they got now. I don't see them winning now.
Plus they have a first-year coach, and how often do we see a first-year coach come in and immediately take a team to the finals? It just doesn't really happen that much.
Yeah.
So I guess on a hotness scale, I'll give that take a 5 because I think it could really go either way. I'd love to see LeBron win at least one more.
Yeah, I would too.
But it's going to depend who's around him. It's really going to depend on the pieces and how much buy-in the team has in a team aspect. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see going forward.
Yeah, it would. It'd be fun. So there's number 3.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's another Warriors question.
Okay.
Would Kevin Durant be as high as he is on the all-time list if he never went to Golden State. I will say him going to Golden State was what, 2 rings, right?
Won 2 championships, 2
Two
finals
championships,
MVPs.
right. So it could be said if he didn't go to Golden State, there's a good chance he wouldn't have been in the finals those 2 years, depending on where he went. I don't think he'd be as high up because I know a lot of people bring championships, final MVPs into the all-time conversations. Obviously, arguably the best scorer of all time. Score from anywhere. It's like it comes easy to him.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be as high. He'd be up there regardless. He'd be pretty high, but as high now with 2 championships, 2 finals MVPs on an already stacked Warriors team that he went to, it was I don't see him being as high if he didn't go to Golden State. Because there's no telling if he stayed in OKC, there's no telling what could have been second round exits, conference finals exit. You never know. But yeah, I don't have him as high, nearly as high. I don't think.
Yeah. This is another one of those that is almost entirely subjective because to begin with, it's subjective where you have Kevin Durant on your top rankings or whatever. His stint in Golden State, he went to 3 NBA finals.
Yeah.
2 finals championships, 2 finals MVPs. And he was the best player on those 2 teams. He was the best player. But with that being said, you take him off that team and either you put him back on an OKC or you put him on a different team in that 2016 offseason. I just can't miss the fact, though, that he was 1 game away. He was 1 game away from the NBA Finals.
Do
I think that they win that 2006 Cavs team? Probably not. Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. Technical difficulties. Sorry for that. But yeah, I don't think Kevin Durant on any other team beats that 2016 Cavs team. Let's talk about 2017. 2017 could go a different way. The Warriors defeated the Cavs in 5 games that year. And in 2018, they defeat the Cavs in 4 games. There's no way of knowing. Me personally, the accolades probably do have him a little higher up than he would be without accolades. So
I agree.
I could probably see him getting knocked down a few notches. But I don't think that takes away from the greatness of Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
I don't think that takes away from the greatness of him as a player. But of course, we see in all-time lists a lot of times accolades be the main determining factor of what has someone above someone else. So from that perspective, I could definitely see him being knocked down.
Yeah, I agree.
Hotness scale for that one, I give that one like a 3.
3. I'll say.
Yeah.
I'll say about a. I'll say about a 4. 4 or 5. It's really just how you look at it, I guess. How you look at the accolades and everything.
All right, for my third one, this one is kind of more just based around the state of the NBA as a whole. And that's that positionless basketball has taken over the NBA. 10 years ago, we still saw, for the most part, we saw point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. And that's the way that it had been up until then for the most part. But with the way that the game has changed, especially regarding the 3-point shot, we don't really see 1 through 5 anymore. The only positions that I still think are probably the truest to themselves are pure point guards and pure centers.
Okay.
Everybody else is just kind of thrown in the middle. I
Okay.
think you have guards, wings, and bigs. That's what I usually just
Yeah.
classify it as at this point.
Yeah, I agree with
Um,
that. Yeah.
you still have the pure point guards and the pure centers. Those are the only two that I think still really exist. And like think of a few players. What position would you say Giannis plays?
Yeah, I would say exactly.
What position does Kevin Durant play? Because those guys, Kevin Durant, we'll take Kevin Durant for example. He can start that game. He can start the game as the 3, I guess you would say. And
He can finish
teams tend to go small at the end of games. So Kevin Durant can be the 5, can be your 5 at the end of games. The same thing with guys like LeBron and guys like, think of DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan has been like regarded as a shooting guard for a lot of his career.
Mm-hmm.
He has played some 5 over the past 2 seasons. So I think positionless basketball has definitely become a real thing in the league. And I still think the league is trying to catch up with that. Talk about all NBA teams and all-star voting with the positions still being set. I think that's stupid at this point, and I think that's something that they'll look at over the next season or two, and hopefully get rid of, because some guys get snubbed because of that.
Right.
Think about the first team All-NBA this year. Your guy Joel Embiid had to settle for second team because there was one center who could be on that first team, and he was the MVP of the league.
Yeah, I think Tatum got snubbed last year, I think, because of something with the forward spot, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with that. Like I said, Giannis, KD, I would say you could throw Jokic in there, because when have you seen a center, run the offense from full court? Like, if he gets a rebound, he'll take it himself. When have you really actually seen that, in years past? Besides, lately, last few years. Trying to think. Yeah, I agree with that. That's basically what the league now is: a guard, a wing, and a big center. Like centers, Karl-Anthony Towns shoots a lot of threes. A lot of centers are starting to take threes now. Basically a big part in a lot of offense now is threes, I think.
Right.
So if you're big and can't shoot the 3, you still can start Gobert. Obviously other things pick up for that lack, I guess, can pick up for that lack of shooting, but
they have to.
Yeah, wings. Now, like the big thing now for every team is 3-and-D wings. If you can guard the 1 through 4, maybe even 5, perfect fit for any team. So yeah, I'll say that. I agree with that. Positions need to. It's almost not positions anymore. Like, it shouldn't be the All-Star, All-NBA, things like that. It shouldn't be positions anymore. It snubs and it hurts a lot of guys.
And I'll say one more thing regarding this one. Kevin Durant was on the JJ Redick podcast, and he said he was asked about the future of the NBA, like positions wise. And Kevin Durant said, in the next 10 years, there'll probably be a bunch of 6'9" guys who can shoot the 3 and play defense.
Yeah.
Be the main makeup of almost every team.
Yeah, so, you look at like the Raptors, that's what they're doing, I think. A lot of 3-and-D wings. But.
Right. So hotness scale for that one, I give that one a 1. Positionless basketball has taken over.
Yeah, I would say 1 or 2, because it's, especially last few years, that's getting real obvious, I guess. So my fourth and final take for this episode. This take was the Pelicans can be a top 5 or 6 seed next year. Now, Zion coming back. Well, I'll start with this. We'll see what they did against the title favorites last year, first round. I'll say that. Zion coming back. If he stays healthy, if he can stay healthy the whole year, or at least most of the year, come playoff time, be healthy, it's a real good chance. But like I said, like how last year, how close some of the standing races were, a lot of I'll say Cleveland, for example. They were the fourth, fifth seed, I believe,
Hmm.
very towards the end. And then Jared Allen got hurt. I think a few more injuries, and they dropped to play-in team.
Yeah, they didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, they didn't even make the playoffs, and they were like a sleeper to go far in the playoffs. In my
Hmm.
opinion, they were.
I would
Um,
agree.
but Pelicans, we seen what they did. The energy they brought, the crowd, the fans, the home arena. It
Hmm.
was I loved it. It was really good to watch, really fun. Uh, and it's a fun young team. They got CJ, Brandon Ingram, um, Zion if healthy, Valanciunas, I believe. Um,
You can't forget about Herb.
yeah,
Can't forget about Herb Jones.
Jose Alvarado, the corner steal guy, I guess, or the inbound steal guy. Um, so I think they can very well be a top 5 to 6 seed, especially healthy. Because if you put in injuries, you never know what happened. You never know who's going to be out the full year for a month, 2 months. Brooklyn last year was the 1 seed. KD got hurt, plummet to like seventh or eighth,
Hmm.
and it had to do with Kyrie not being hurt but unavailable to play. So you never know, but I definitely think they can be a five. I think they could be a five in my opinion, and especially if I think they can go far in the playoffs. Especially if like last year, Zion played the way they were playing against Phoenix, they definitely could have upset the 1 seed easily.
Which is
Easily,
crazy to think about.
right?
Um, so the Pelicans, watching the Pelicans, the over the second half of the season and in the playoffs, they reminded me this year of kind of what the Memphis Grizzlies did last year. And to see what the Memphis Grizzlies did from last year to this year, going from the 8 seed to the 2 seed,
Mm-hmm.
I think the Pelicans are capable of doing the same. I
Mm-hmm.
think the Pelicans are capable of doing the same, especially whenever you add an all-star in Zion Williamson.
Right.
Um, you say 5 seed. I think the Pelicans could be a top 3 seed.
I was thinking, but I didn't want to stretch it, but it could very well be 3 to 5, very well.
I, I,
Because
I think they could do it. I think that they fill out every box for me.
right.
And that's assuming Zion is healthy. That's assuming Zion is playing over half the game. They're offensively, they're one of the best teams in the NBA. Their defense was much improved the second half of the season. Um, I believe in that Pelicans team. I believe that
Yeah.
they had the ability to go far. I could see them having a kind of miracle run to like the conference finals or something.
Mm-hmm.
And especially to add CJ, who's a veteran, who's been there before.
Right.
Brendan Ingram, of course, is coming along. And their role players are so good.
Yeah.
I think the Pelicans have some of the best role players in the NBA with Herb Jones, with Larry Nance Jr., with Alvarado, and even Trey Murphy, who shot the ball pretty well in his rookie season. And to add on top of all of that, they had the 8th pick in Dyson Daniels,
I would say yeah.
who there's no telling how he'll fit in that or how often he'll play.
Right. He
With the
could.
Pelicans, they're such a wild card, and I think that their ceiling and their floor is probably the biggest in the NBA this next season. I think they
Yeah.
could be as high as the 2-3 seed, but they could also still be around that 7-8 seed mark,
Right.
depending on, of course, how the West looks like and how healthy they are.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I would say because even without injuries, teams just not. I won't say struggle, but it could just not be as hot as they were the year before. Memphis could fall to 3 or 4 or a 4 or 5 seed. Things
Right.
like that. LA is a favorite next year, especially signing John Wall. Kawhi's coming back, PG. So, but you never know. That they could still be a 4 or 5. I think it's just really unpredictable. For standing wise, you never know. Even without injuries, just how players mesh together, how teams, players, game mesh together. You never can tell what'll happen.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. For a hotness scale for that one, I'd probably give that one a 3 or a 4. I think it's very possible.
Yeah, I'd say about a 5. It's 50-50. You can go either way.
Hmm. Yeah. So for the last take of the show today, I guess we'll hold the other 8 off for either next episode or future episode. If this is another slow news week, which I wrapping up the takes. But for my last take for today, this one came out kind of out of left field.
Mhm.
I was shocked to hear this one. And that's that LaMelo Ball will win an MVP in the next 3 years. So I guess I'll just start by saying that's the first I've heard of this. That's the first I've heard of this one. And you look at that Charlotte Hornets team right now, Miles Bridges is probably not going to be there. Their second best player right now is Terry Rozier. It doesn't look too good for them. They just re-signed Coach Steve Clifford, who's been there before and barely been the 8th seed in most of the seasons that he's been there.
Mhm.
For a guy to win MVP, I feel like you have to most of the time be a top 3-4 seed in your conference. You have some anomalies like Nikola Jokic this past season and Russell Westbrook whenever he did it in 2017, but we don't see it often. And LaMelo Ball is still very young. I think even if he
Mhm.
puts up great numbers, there will be other guys who are just looked at above him just
Right.
because of the stories that they probably have.
Mhm.
It would take a lot, and I mean a lot, for LaMelo Ball to be looked at as a serious MVP candidate, in my opinion.
Yeah, next what 2 to 3 years? That's that's pretty crazy to me. He is good. I'll say he is really good. I know we ranked him, or we ranked him last. I think it was last episode with other
Mhm.
young guards. The next 2 or 3 years, depending on the moves, I still have him as a play-in team, but I can't see it.
Yeah.
MVP in the next 2 or 3. I know he can be really good, but I can't see him getting the MVP anytime soon, in my opinion. But
Yeah. I'm in agreement with you. I don't think the Charlotte Hornets make the playoffs next season.
yeah,
And until they make significant changes to their team or draft really well or whatever, I don't think that they really move up.
right.
I think that they have the potential to go into another rebuild process, just based on the current state of the team. After LaMelo and Terry Rozier, your next best player is Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, so
That should tell you all you need to know.
right.
So yeah, I don't think that the future looks too bright for that take. I give that one a 9 or a 10. That's
Yeah,
very hot. That's a
they're
very hot take.
they're a fun team to watch, but winning wise, it's not there. I don't think anytime soon, especially losing. No, I don't. Yeah, I'll say 10. That's very. I don't. That's not happening.
Yeah. So that's kind of all the time we have for today. Like I said, 8 more takes on the way soon. Let us know what you thought about this. If this was a good idea, maybe we can do some more stuff like this going forward.
Yeah,
Expect some more fun stuff going forward because the news will probably be a lot like this week over the off season, pretty dead, pretty addressable in the first 5 minutes of the episode. So we'll have a lot of fun stuff on the way. And Jacob, you got anything else to add?
no. I think that's it. Thank you all for your support. Views running up some. Click the subscribe button if you're watching. If you're new to the channel,
Right.
um,
Please do.
leave a
Run us
like.
up.
Leave a like.
Tell your
Recommend us to
friends.
people. Right. Recommend us. That's all I got.
Well, if that's all you got, I guess we'll sign out for now. See y'all sometime next week.
Right. See
Peace
y'all.
out.